And welcome to the Midday Show. A little different setup today, but we're making it work. We've got some stories about bowling balls, snakes under the bed, and Thunder Road. But before anything else, be sure to make your comment, give us a question. We're more than happy to talk about it today. But most importantly, after a long weekend, we always like to know, Mark, how are you feeling today?
Well, I feel great. This is our version of Cash Cab, as Jeff is pulled over. You are officially homeless right now in your real life. You're kind of transitioning from place. So it was only a matter of time before you did a broadcast from your car. I didn't expect it to be today. But yeah, I'm good. How are you doing? That's a question.
I'm okay. I was nervous. I wasn't sure how the setup was going to work. You know, like, what do you do? Where do you go? Because I'm used to working remote, but I'm spoiled in the sense of, like, when I'm remote, I have my station and I set up here and, like, I plug in here. And so doing it out of my car, like, I was driving along and around like 9:30, I started trying to, like, run through scenarios in my head of, like, how am I going to do this and how everything else. So yeah, we set up outside of a Starbucks. We've got the laptop plugged in. We've got the phone going. And this is, we're ready to go. We're ready to roll.
Think in life of all the other things you've done in your car. So just doing the Midday Show should just be one more thing to the list.
It's a lot less technical than a lot of the stuff. I will say this. It is funny, like, driving, it's being in the car. The car to me is such a conversational place, which is weird because I just had a long car ride with people sleeping in the car. But it's a conversational place. Like, you're talking with your buddy, you're talking with your parent, you're talking with your friend. So it is weird to be doing the show in the car it's like a pseudo, I don't even know how to describe it.
When you just said that, I was picturing these people sleeping and you talking anyway and them just telling you to shut up. They're trying to sleep.
I woke them up. I told them to go and sit in the Starbucks for a while.
Before we get started, I want to tell you a quick stupid story from my weekend, because I'm sure this has happened to all of us at some point or other. I'm at a travel baseball tournament with my son, and I'm sitting there watching the game, and I get this random text from my high school girlfriend that says, "How old is your son?" And I just thought it was a weird question to be asked. So I'm sitting there watching the game, and all of a sudden I can feel this guy, like, walking up towards me, and I kind of peek out of the corner of my eye, and right away I'm like, I don't know who this is, because we've played travel ball enough. I didn't know any of the teammates, but now we've done enough tournaments that I know who the parents are. And I peek enough to realize I have no idea who this guy is, and he looks like he's walking right towards me. We literally get right up next to my chair, and he's just staring over me. So I peek up, and it's a guy I played high school football and basketball with.
It's pretty cool.
So I hop up, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Is your kid on this team? My kid's a center fielder on that team." And then it all goes back through that. We talk for a long time, and then I go back through the phone, and I'm peppered with texts from my old high school girlfriend, because her sister is married to this guy. Okay. So it was the beginnings of, are you at some baseball tournament? Because I don't know what they're talking about, but they're at some tournament. They think your kid's playing or whatever. So it was just one of those funny experience. Like, it's such a small world, as it turns out.
It is. And especially you and I may have talked about this before, but there was a time, I don't know if the stats stay true, but when I was, like, going through college and then, like, afterwards, so, like, probably like 2015-ish, Pennsylvania has the most residents that were born and raised in Pennsylvania. So, like, Pennsylvania has, like, the highest retention rate for citizens out of every other state in the country. Yes.
That was a fascinating stat.
As of, like, 2015-ish, that was true. So if it swung here or there, I apologize. But yes, that was a true statistic, like 5-6 years ago. And the funny part, like you say, like, it's a small world. Like, I think Pennsylvania is a little bigger than we always think it is. And the other part of it is, like, if no one leaves, like, you're gonna bump into your uncle's girlfriends, like, those things happen so much more in a state that just has, like, a higher retention. So Pennsylvania is a little unique in that sense.
And these two would classify it in our world that they left, because now they live right outside of Philly.
Yeah.
So they're from, but it was
they're
just
still
funny.
in Pennsylvania.
Because it's not, what made it a little theatrical is we didn't just pass each other and be like, hey, I could see him coming, and he just glared over me, and there was nothing I could do but peek up. But it was funny. But yes, small world.
I want to hear this bowling ball story, because you have brought this up to me like 4 different times, and I yet to have actually heard it.
You haven't Googled? So this guy, I want to say Michigan. Forgive me on that. This guy's like ripping out his porch because he's going to put on a deck or something on something, and he sees something like underneath it seems spherical, and it seems like the wrong color for. So he kind of puts his hand in, and it's smooth, and so he pulls it out. It's a bowling ball. So he's like, oh, that's odd that there's like a bowling ball underneath my house.
Right.
So they continue this demolition, and they find like 52 bowling balls underneath the house. And they're going. So right away, before they even start digging and removing and they get too far, he's like taking pictures. He's making sure that there's nothing dangerous. They were Brunswick balls. He's sending, like, they're handling them enough that they can find serial numbers, and they're sending them in. And
right.
They're like, nope, those are the real thing. Some of them are as old as the 50s. So now they're trying to figure out why on earth anyone would abandon, like, it's almost like they built this house on top of an old bowling alley, and they're just like, we'll just demolish it, but they have no idea. But
if anyone knows, what do they do with the old bowling balls? Like, what do you do with them?
Under the porch. They just shove them all on. That's a good question. I have no idea. And
I could be wrong. Someone may know. What else would you use them for? Like, what's a reusage that you would possibly do with bowling balls?
That's a good question. My first thought if you're a guy and you've made national news for discovering something under your house, wouldn't it be just a little more exciting if it was something slightly more valuable than bowling balls?
Well, it depends if you're a bowler or not, I guess.
I mean, just really like, yeah, of all the things to find buried under the house, I found 52 bowling balls.
Well, that's their thing too. Not like 10, not like a dozen.
There's a lot, and they don't know, because I don't think they were demolishing the house. I think they were doing a rebuild I think the porch was coming off and a deck was going on or something, but who knows what's further? Like, there may be hundreds.
Yeah, no, there's no way to know where it ends. Are you a bowler?
I was in a bowling league when I was in like 3rd grade. I love bowling. Back in my era.
Real quick, were you in a bowling league or were you in a drinking league?
No, I was in like 3rd grade.
You can disguise a bowling league as a drinking league.
Well, first of all, I don't drink. And second of all, I was in like 3rd grade. So, no.
Oh, you were in 3rd grade?
Yeah, we kicked, me and Vince Shear and Todd Gardner and Todd Ulmer, and we kicked ass, buddy.
You made it sound as if like you were in a bowling league 3 years ago.
No, we were young. We were in elementary school. We were awesome. But yeah, I love bowling. But see, when I was a kid, you went to the bowling alley and you could not hear a bad song. It was rock and roll. That was it. You heard no dance music. You heard no, like, it was AC/DC and Van Halen and Guns N' Roses, and that was it.
See, I know very little about like bowling. I've gone to the bowling alley like a handful of times. I've bowled a handful of times. I know very little about like the whole culture of it. Like, I don't know. I've never been an avid bowler. I'm also awful at it.
I can fix your bowling right away.
You're going to tell me to take. You're going to tell me to take my thumb out of the.
Exactly. Did I already tell you that?
No, but I feel like most people, that's like people who kind of know what they're doing. That's like the first thing they say to me.
Take your thumb out of the ball and throw a big yak and hook, and you'll improve immediately.
Yeah.
Then the real bowlers will make fun of you, and then you just turn around and give them the finger, and then you just throw strikes.
The only finger I have though is my thumb.
Well, after you're done, like
how do you grip the ball? What's your system?
These 2 fingers in it, but you don't, because in real bowling, these 2 stay out. I can't even do it. it's your third and your fourth finger and your thumb, and you just take your thumb out and you cup it. And
I love that you
yak-
call it. I love that you call it real bowling. And real bowling, not fake bowling.
Well, real bowlers.
The real bowlers are there. I might not be able to click this. Lisa Ann, Jeff is in a van down by the river.
Nice.
Might be
nice.
true. I can't give up my location, but that may have been. Corey Twig, kicking ass in third grade bowling. That is like anything you did in third grade. Did you really do it? Like if you played,
I have a trophy, dude. And this was back in the day that everyone didn't get a trophy. You had to win to get a trophy.
But time out, because like people who say like, oh yeah, like I took piano. But if you took piano in third grade, did you really take piano?
I did take piano when I was a little kid.
But you wouldn't call yourself, like you would never say like I was a piano player.
No, but I was in we won. We won the championship. Well, I don't know what else you want me to do. Do you want me to bring in my trophy tomorrow? I'm
just saying, like, what you did. I don't know if just because you did something in third grade, it qualifies you as that thing. Whoa.
Let's backtrack here. You asked me, were you ever in a bowling league? And I said yes in third grade.
I asked if you were ever a bowler. And then you said, yes, I was in a bowling league. And I thought you meant like 5 years ago, you used to go like kick it on the lanes and throw some strikes.
What's it matter? That's like saying, if you ask Beethoven, were you ever a composer? Did it matter that it wasn't 5 years ago? No.
Well, no, but it helps to know that Beethoven didn't just like try it in third grade and then never did it again.
Well, I have bowled since, just never in a league.
Because that's the real question. They like at some point of your life, once you do something, people are like, oh yeah, that person's this. But like if you did it in third grade, I don't know if you're qualified. If I took ballet in third grade, I'm not walking around telling people I'm a classical dancer, is all I'm saying.
If I went and bowled 3 games today, in one of them I would bowl a 175.
You would beat me by 100.
No, but if you took your thumb out of the ball, you would bowl better immediately.
I would catch up to you pretty quickly.
Nah, I mean, no, because you're from Blossburg. But yeah, it would be a lot easier for you. You'd get the hang of it real quick.
All right. What was the other one you had for me? Do you want to dive into Thunder Road, or did you want to tell me about?
Well, there's another to go along with the bowling balls under the porch. There's some story about some lady was in bed and she heard something and she like reached and there were 18 snakes under her bed.
Where was this? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't even remember how much of it she felt. And this is the whole, like I think we all, as little kids, weren't we all scared of the monster under the bed? Or maybe you were such a badass. Maybe you never were.
No. It wasn't that. I don't know for me if it was ever like monsters under the bed, but was there like a fear of the dark growing up? Like, yes. Like if I was unaware of my surroundings in the dark, there was a sense of like, yes.
This would be a good Freudian, like lay somebody on a couch and have I think Monsters, Inc. kind of brought this out. As a kid, I think you're either afraid of what's in the closet or what was under the bed. And I was an under the bed kind of guy.
Okay.
And I could only imagine, and I like to find 18, like, I don't know how this happens. Somewhere they hatched, obviously, and they grew, and there was somewhere in the house that they could kind of sneak in under the basement or up through the floorboards, or there was a hole in a wall that they didn't know was there, or maybe they were living in the wall, and I don't know. But for all people, I'm not the only person who was afraid of what was under the bed.
No,
and this would be like this lady's going to sleep probably standing up for the rest of her life.
See, so you brought up like the Freudian aspect of like either they were under the bed or they were in the closet. Mine was like I had to have the door shut to keep everything outside of there. Like the bad guy, the robber, the break-in, the monster, whatever else. As like I felt comfortable enough of like my room was a safe place, but I always wanted the door shut.
Okay,
like I
so
couldn't
you were
sleep if the door wasn't shut.
So you weren't under the bed or closet, you were in the hallway kind of. And
Yeah, like
that's interesting.
I needed the door shut. But what's interesting, like from a Freudian aspect, what's interesting is that in your mind, the monster was, there was no necessary safe space. The monster was always there. And in my mind, the monster wasn't there yet. It might come to get me. I wonder what the Freudian aspect of that is.
That is true. And yes.
Because I know other people that if the door is not closed, they can't sleep. And I'm that way. Like, I need the door to be closed.
Now, and I got to that. But see, also, and I told you, like, I used to love to have the fans blasting back in the 70s when we didn't know it had air conditioning.
Yeah.
And the fan was in the hallway at the top of the stairs. So in the summertime, at least, I needed the door open to get this. And this thing was like a jet propeller. Like there was a wind draft in my room, but that's how I slept. So for that month, but now as I've gotten older, I just did it because of quiet. I just wanted, but yeah, now, like I really, I never sleep with the door open now, ever.
Okay. But that was a real thing for you though, like the monster, like under the bed.
Yes.
What about, this is the other one. I don't remember, and if my mom's watching, she'll probably comment. I don't remember ever having like a security item. Like I never had the blanket. I never had the stuffed animal. Okay. You didn't have one of those either?
I did not either. Like I had stuffed animals as a kid, but they kind of wrote as they got destroyed and as they got, I never had one that like I carried around the house or that it was my guy. No, I did not have that either.
I don't remember having that either, but I have like, I had different relatives. I had a cousin who had this like blanket that it was in shreds by the time they finally, because it just went everywhere and just couldn't leave it behind. And then
Did it go to college?
What's that?
Did it go to college?
I don't think it made it to college, but it might have, if it wouldn't have been in shreds, it might have made it to college. And then I have a niece right now who's like, has the whole baby doll thing. So like and literally the baby doll's name is Baby and it goes everywhere and it does like, you can't do anything without Baby. And so like, I'm with her or like we're watching her and it's hard for me to kind of like wrap my head around it because I just never had that thing.
You know what you can't do with Baby?
Put her in the corner.
Amen. Attaboy. That is why we are a team.
Did I steal that from you?
Yeah,
here, real quick.
No, that was good. That was good.
Mayor can help you out real quick. The 18 Snakes was in Augusta, Georgia. There was an incident where people in Loyalsock Township, Lycoming County, sold their home knowing it was infested with snakes, and they paid for it big time. You are not permitted to just mass kill them, so you cannot fumigate.
Huh. You're not
interesting.
So, this is what would you do? How do you lure them out?
Well, I guess not to sound simplistic. You'd have to call the right person to just have them come on.
Yeah, who was the guy? That's what I was thinking. What do they do?
Who was the guy we had on the show? You'd have to call. Was it Doug?
I remember him.
Story, and Doug dove in and with his phone number and gave like the greatest live plug of all time.
Seriously, what do you do with snakes? Like, come here, boy. Like,
I don't know.
They're just like, I'm not coming out.
I don't know what you do. So you're not a snake person.
You mean, no.
Okay. Have you ever held a snake?
No.
Okay.
You are?
All right. I'm fascinated by them. I think they're like the neatest thing ever.
Oh, I'm a little bit fascinated by sharks too, but I've never held one. Like,
yeah, but you're not just gonna go outside and catch a shark.
No, I'm not. Listen, and while I was at a baseball tournament this weekend, spent a lot of hotel time, and I watched a lot of Shark Week. And I would want to know if Shark Week was like in June, how much tourism would drop, because it like I don't know why anyone would ever get back in the ocean.
So you think that's why they put it when they put it?
Maybe. I watched it for probably 2 straight hours, and I don't understand why people would get back in.
see, this is, you and I, like, we've touched on like UFOs and Bigfoots and stuff like that in the past, and you and I have kind of said like there should be a clear picture of one, or like somebody. Have you seen recently like all of the drone footage and all of like the cameras on balconies of people getting the shark shadow kind of swimming through like the beach infested with people? Okay, and so like I look at that and I'm like, well, they've been there all along. Whenever you went to the beach 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like that's always happened. But to take it like a step further, when people talk about Bigfoot or they talk about UFO, the shark stuff on the beach is the perfect example, because how often would you actually see video of a shark like around beachgoers, and like never. You never saw that stuff. Now it's like every day someone's posting a different video because there's more cameras and there's more stuff like that. So it's like, for that reason, when you and I had talked about Bigfoot and those types of things, that is a perfect example. When I was watching, I was thinking like, that's why Bigfoot's not real. Like that right there is why it's not. Well, we would have had like
on a trail cam. I agree.
Yes,
somebody's trail cam. The thing that was fascinating about it is they went through a lot of when the shark attacks occur and what happens in nature, like what's happened to the weather environment, and so there was one where there was in Australia, I want to say, there was a drought. So there was dust, and then there was just this immense, they called it like a red summer because there was just all this dust around because Australia's so dry anyway. And then they so then as this dust blows around and lands in the water, it's good for like the little plankton and the microscopic animals had a feeding frenzy. Okay. So as these things grow more, then the other fish that prey on them had a feeding frenzy and they were more. And then the sharks came in because there was more food for them. So they kind of tracked these environmental aspects as when the temperatures were, if the summer was warmer, did it help? And like bull sharks are the ones that swim up rivers because bull sharks can survive in fresh water for a little while. Yeah. And they did all these studies as to there was a big group of shark attacks here and why. And it was a fascinating research as they did that it's just not random, that there are environmental aspects. And it's not just, oh, the sharks are coming. It's the little bitty fish ate more, so the bigger fish ate more, so the fish that the shark ate. And it was this whole like food chain thing, which explained it. But at the end of the day, it ends with people getting chomped on by sharks in the ocean. And I still don't understand why people get it.
The shark thing's overblown. I still to this day, because again, I'm telling you, they have been around like when you go to the beach and there's like 300 people in front of you and they're just out chilling like on the shore and everything else. Like the sharks are out there. We just don't know it. So to me, it's kind of like getting on a plane. It's so much safer than we even realize. But then like the one time the plane goes down, like everybody loses their mind, and that's fine. And it's the same thing with sharks. Like every time someone goes out into the ocean, there are sharks around. But yet like when it finally happens, like when someone gets chomped on, it's like everyone in like you shouldn't go in. It's the same thing.
You know where there are no sharks.
Getting on a plane and getting into the beach are no different.
You know where there are no sharks?
Where?
On the land.
Okay.
So you know where you're not going to get bit by a shark?
On land?
On the land.
Okay. Are you going to get on a plane?
Yes.
Okay, because
safest way to travel.
You know where you know where planes don't crash?
But this is what I'm saying.
Like, what are we talking about?
Like if you don't have to travel, then you don't travel. If you have to travel, then being on a plane is a very safe way. You don't have to get in the ocean.
There you go. So your argument is that you never actually have to get into the ocean.
And don't get me wrong. Every time I go to the beach, I get in. But after watching Shark Week this weekend, and I've watched Shark Week lots because I don't understand why people do it like, oh, this is fun. Let's go. I'm good.
I love the ocean. Thank you for watching the Midday Show, and thank you to our title sponsor, Weiss Markets. Be sure to go there for all your grocery needs. It's
Wait, we're not
Monday.
done yet, are we?
No, I'm saying I'm
Oh.
giving Weiss a shout out.
Oh, okay. I thought you were signing off. I got more stuff to talk about.
No, I bet you do. Well, listen, since it's throwing you off, you go ahead and you say all the great things Weiss Markets has to offer here.
Oh,
for
no.
30
You were
seconds.
doing well. I just wanted to make sure you were doing
Well, I was going to say it's Monday at 12:36. So Mark has probably been to Weiss Markets twice already this week.
I have not been there today, but I'm going shortly after
Okay.
we're off the air here.
Okay. All right. And that'll be your opportunity. So thank you to Weiss Markets. Be sure to go out and thank them. Eventually, I will be back, and we will bring the prize wheel back as well. So continue to join the Facebook group, The Midday Show, pushing 850 followers, and we've well exceeded 100 winners. T-shirts are getting passed out. Gift cards are getting sent out. So continue to sign up for the group, share the group, and thank you for following us. And we hope that you continue to enjoy this. And thank you to NorthcentralPa.com for letting us do this. So be
Hey,
sure
and you
to
know
go
what
there
else is
for all your local news. What else, Mark?
Sorry, just to prove how
what do
cool
you
our
got?
T-shirts are. There are like people that kind of run into me around the office that are not winners of the show, which
Okay.
makes them losers. But they're like, "Hey, can I have a T-shirt? Because
Yeah.
I work here."
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess. But yes, thank you to Wise Markets for grocery, pharmacy, or drugs. If you just want to say that, just drugs and but all your pharmacy needs, all your bakery, all your flowers, all your lottery, everything you need. And again, there's a big billboard in downtown Williamsport about hiring and the great career opportunities they have at Wise Market. So if you're in the market for a job or a change of a career, you can also go to Wise Markets for that as well.
Yes. Nice. You wanted to talk about Thunder Road.
Thunder Road, baby. I am jacked.
You're gonna have to go real. You're gonna have to explain this to me.
Okay. So 46 years ago, I think it was 1975. The Born to Run album comes out, which was Bruce Springsteen. In most people, it's his watershed. Like that's Born to Run is Bruce Springsteen. Okay. And the first song on the album is Thunder Road. If you don't know Thunder Road, you are no longer a friend of mine. In the first lyric, as it comes out, it starts out with this harmonica theme and whatever. And the screen door slams and Mary's dress waves. I don't think I'm allowed to sing it. I would sing it but I don't want to get us in any trouble.
Okay.
And the Bruce Springsteen did a Broadway show, a one-man show of his life. And then Broadway shut down and he did all these shows and he was done. Well, now he's going to revive it because everyone sat home and he made money hand over fist. I mean, it was so much better it did so much better than anyone thought it would ever do. So he's reviving it now that it's open. And a reporter, someone famous, they put out a tweet with the upcoming revival of his show. And all it said is the screen door slams and Mary's dress sways. Now, for 46 years, her dress has been waving. The screen door slams and Mary's dress waves. And this is back in the day where in the album, on the inside of the album, it had all the lyrics. And Mary's dress has been clearly waving for 46 years.
Okay.
But this chick, and I'd have to go through the story and see, she was a reporter, I think, or somebody. She wrote a whole tweet. It's all it says. The screen door slams and Mary's dress sways.
Okay.
So someone at like the LA Times or whatever got up on this story and they started researching and they got in touch with his manager who was like a co-producer on the album.
Okay.
And the guy responded and said, Mary's dress sways. That's how he wrote it in his original notebooks. That's how he sung it every time that he's ever sung it. And in his memoir, which was also entitled Born to Run, it has a handwritten thing of him with lyrics, and it wrote, Mary's dress sways. So after 46 years, they have gone back and changed it on the official Bruce Springsteen website. And I just did it this morning. I was just made aware of this morning. This has all just happened in the last 48 hours. I went and listened, and for my whole life, just like everybody else in the world, I've been singing the screen door slams and Mary's dress waves And now when I go back and hear it now, it all like it sways. Her dress sways. After 46 years, we think it's been waving and it's been swaying. And go back and listen to it again. I just called our news director in and I said, it sways. And to listen to it. And once you know it, you can't not hear it. So there we go. Of all the wrongs that have been righted because of the internet, we've righted this wrong. And what's really funny is how it just started with one tweet. There was obviously a person who has a following. Sure. And then it got people like, no, it waves. You're like, no, it sways. And we have got to the bottom of it. And Mary's dress sways. And then like a vision, she dances across the porch as the radio plays. And that makes it even more because sways and plays rhymes perfectly. Waves and plays doesn't rhyme perfectly. So it all comes clear after 46 years. Thunder Road.
Do you think the majority of people thought it said still waves?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay. So that's like.
Yeah, I texted my college buddies, and he is adamant that it waves. But now it doesn't. It sways. It doesn't wave anymore. It sways.
Really did the word sways disjustice. I could have, sways could have became a thing.
It could have. It could have. Yeah. At a sporting event, while it's going around, we could have been doing the sway instead of the wave.
That's correct.
By the way, I'll just throw this out because I know, like in the 90s at Camden Yards when Mike was pitching in Baltimore and it was packed every night, they would do the wave, and I would tell people it was so much fun. As stupid as you think the wave is, when you're watching it come around and it comes to you and you're like, what? It is. We went to a Phillies game Friday night. They had a doubleheader, and it took till the alcohol had all kicked in. By the second game of the doubleheader, the wave. It's hard to get it started. You can't just be like, hey, everyone, sure. You can't. It takes effort to get, and they had the wave going for like a whole half inning, and it probably did 7 or 8 successful laps around the ballpark. It was really fun.
That's pretty cool. When we were at the district championships last year, it was at Williamsport High School. So there's across the way, they had the balcony, and that's where they had the teams waiting to play the next game. So our boys team was watching our girls team, and during one of the timeouts, our boys started a wave like on that side of the balcony, and the crowd kind of went nuts, and partly because, like people were excited to be in a gym, they had been out of it with COVID and everything else. But there is something about the wave that just, even if you don't participate in it, nobody has ever been somewhere where someone started doing the wave and they were upset or they didn't smile or they weren't watching it.
So they got it going around the Williamsport gym?
They got it going around the Williamsport gym.
It is fun.
It was pretty cool.
As I was sitting there with my son and some of his teammates, and I'm like, listen, you think it's corny, you think it's stupid, but when you're watching it go around the whole stadium, and at the baseball stadiums, and we were in Philadelphia, I was like, watch the upper deck. The upper deck's in sync, and they got it going, and it is fun.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and there's just something too about like everybody, like not to get like super intellectual about the wave, but it does it defies everything. It defies political parties. It defies like race. It defies gender. You're either doing the wave or you're not, and it's really that simple. And people love it. It really is.
Yeah, and the people who try to sit it out.
Oh, they're the worst.
And the people around them are like, yeah, it's just.
We could very easily weed out the worst people in society by just putting everybody in football stadiums doing the wave and just seeing who participated and who didn't.
Yes.
We could weed them out real quick.
Saw Bruce Springsteen live on Broadway during the original run. It was amazing. I saw it on Netflix. I have 2 buddies who saw it live on Broadway and were just like, you have to see it. Yeah. And it was one of those, I was like, I'll wait till the tickets get cheaper. And they never did. It was... I don't want to ask William what he paid. I think if you got it at the beginning of the run, I think it was better, but it sold out late. Yeah. And then, it's 1,000. It was Hamilton worse. Like you were paying $1,000 a ticket, but I saw it on Netflix. And I've seen Bruce a few times live. It's interesting, but the whole And it's the first line. The thing that's incredible. I mean, Thunder Road's the first song on the album. It is one of his all-time. Like, if you're a Springsteen fan, Thunder Road is maybe higher than Born to Run. And it's the first line of the song.
Yeah.
The screen door slams and Mary's dress waves and it was sways and it's like, you think this is the dumbest topic we've ever covered. I am riveted.
I don't think it's the dumbest topic we've ever covered. It is like, it just comes back to like what really matters in your life and like what doesn't, because like there's lyrics in music for me that like if Jay-Z dropped an album tomorrow, I would be finding the lyrics and I'd be digging them in and like what do they mean and everything else. So I don't think this is the stupidest topic in the world. The irony to me is like the debate over one word and whether or not it sways or waves, because when you're listening to like faster pop or hip hop, like the idea that you wouldn't be able to decipher between sways and waves is like ludicrous. But let alone 46 years.
This is another aspect where the internet has won out, because on the website, on the album jacket, it all says waves. Now there is evidence because again, in his memoir, it said sways. But it is those people that buck this and like, I know what they're saying, or I know what they've printed, but he's not singing what they printed. They're wrong. And they got to the bottom of it, and the guy was like, yeah, it's wrong. He says sways.
I hear you. All right.
I think it's great. This has totally made my Monday.
Anything else you got for me?
About Bruce or life in general?
Well, I mean, you could probably keep talking about Bruce. I'm not going to stop you talking from Bruce if you want to talk about him.
No, I do want to talk about the basketball game, but that's tomorrow, right? Game 6 is tomorrow.
Game should be tomorrow.
Yeah, so we'll talk about basketball tomorrow.
Okay. Did you watch Game 5?
I missed the beginning because we were playing baseball. I know Phoenix was killing them and then blew it. When we got back to the hotel, I turned it on and I was expecting, because we knew that they were killing them, and then we were getting food in a monsoon and we were just trying to get back, and it was one of those like race to the door so you don't get soaked. Right. And then we got to the hotel and we kind of lost interest in the game because it was a blowout. We find it on TV and Milwaukee was up 1. Yeah. So from that point, we watched the rest of it. But yeah, so anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that then. And good for the day?
So yeah, do you have a bed to sleep in tonight? Or are you sleeping in your car?
I'm not going to sleep in my car tonight. I will find a bed by the end of the night, preferably in Lycoming County, somewhere in north central Pennsylvania. But yeah, it's been it's just a crazy like month and a half. Like it's the last like week or so has just been. There's no surprise to me that I'm doing the show in a car with my laptop plugged into the console. Like that's just the way the last like week or so has gone. So that part doesn't surprise me.
Here's your assignment for the rest of the day.
Okay.
Just one at some point. Just Google Thunder Road. Listen to it. The guy is a poet. He is an American poet of the last, and you will kind of understand. Because if Thunder Road isn't, and to hits, he had Hungry Heart and Dancing in the Dark and Born in the USA and Born to Run. And like Thunder Road I don't even know if it was a hit when it came out. But it's like with 10th Avenue Freeze Out. It's one of those songs that like all the Springsteen people love and know better. And so go do yourself. Because the people who are old like me have already listened to it once today. Right. And you're just reminded of how great it was. So go listen to it, and you'll be able to tap into my world just for 4.5 minutes.
Well, that's scary.
And you'll be like, wow, Mark's world is awesome.
I don't know about that. We'll have to do something where like we give a song to each other like every day, or like maybe Fridays. You and I give a song to each other, like a song assignment or something like that. You
would make out very, very well.
I think you would too.
After 6 months of it, you'd be like, thank you for all these good songs.
How, like, out of those 6 months, like, how many would be from the 80s?
Well, Born to Run was from the 70s. They would, 70s, 80s. See, but you know some 70s stuff.
I do know some 70s
You
stuff.
like 70s.
Yeah, there's just a cheesiness to the 80s that I don't get. And listen, I'm very willing to accept that it is me. Like, I'm not sitting here saying like everybody likes Asia. I'm very willing. Maybe I'm like too serious of a person. Maybe like I'm too literal of a person. Like maybe I just like dive into stuff too much. But like there is a cheesiness to the 80s where you almost have to accept things as they are that I just cannot like. I cannot do it. The 80s drive me nuts.
That's a good soliloquy, but here's the truth. You understand that the 80s were the peak of civilization, and you just can't intellectually get to that level.
That if that's whatever it is. The point is I'm out of it. That's the point.
In the 80s, one of the greatest songs of all time, in the video, we had a girl who recently passed away, doing like cartwheels in a white dress on the hood of a car. Like, what is more American than that? You have no retort. It's just above you.
I really don't. It's not that it's, yes, that's fine. Say it's above me. I'm okay with it. As long as I'm missing it, I'm okay. Because I have been through it, and like I don't see it.
I have a buddy from Baltimore who we were talking about this not that long ago, and he said, I am purely convinced that the 80s, 50% of 80s music is the best music ever written, and 50% of 80s music is the worst music ever written. And the more I think about that, the more I'm like, yeah, like the Pet Shop Boys, I just don't get that. But there is some gems, and I will help you to find it.
Yeah. I just feel like the 80s, like we started to get all these things, but we had no idea what to actually do with it. Like from a production, like for music, it was production. For movies, it was effects. Like there's just even style and fashion. Like we didn't really know. I just feel like the 80s were like, we understood like, here we are, we're advancing as a society, and here are the 80s, and we weren't ready or necessarily knew how to do all of the things we needed to do. That's the 80s to me. Like when I think of 80s pop culture and I think of 80s music and 80s movies, that is what goes through my head.
It was so much fun.
I bet you people getting to do it, it was fantastic. Because it's like, oh my God, we're going to try this thing for the first time ever. And then like they do it, and like the movie doesn't look as great as it probably could have, or like the music doesn't sound as good as it could have. But they were getting to try stuff. Like they were getting to try things that nobody else had yet.
Well, one of the things, and not to take it too serious because we've been like tongue in cheek for the last however many minutes, but one of the things that was interesting about, and I've heard Springsteen with this, an interview before, and Springsteen showed up in like 72, I think, is the first time he ever played Born to Run. I don't know when his first album really came out. But he's like, when you think back, rock and roll was so new. They're like, we were in the early 70s, and Elvis was here in the late 50s. So there was so much uncharted water that we were able to branch into. Right. And when you go through, when you think of, the decades of what 50s music sound like, and 60s music with the hippie era, and 70s music with disco and the yacht rock that was of the 70s. And then 80s was hair bands and synthesizers, right. And then 90s. So as we've gotten to this point, like we're running out of new genre. When you think of what either the grunge of the 90s or the females of the Alanis Morissettes and the Fiona Apples we're running out of new sounds that because there have been so many of these. There's only so many new places you can go before we try to mix and reinvent and sure. Regurgitate.
I think, like, as you were saying that, the word that kept coming to my mind was polish. Like, there's just something about it's not even that it's better, but there's just something about, like, when you listen to, like, the 50s, 60s, and even, like, early 70s, it just sounds like they knew what they were trying to do, and this is how you do it. It doesn't mean it couldn't be improved upon. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't get better, but there was just a polish to it that just, like, the 80s just kind of like lost some of that polish because it was like they did, because it was like, we're gonna try this and we're gonna try that, and have you seen this new, and it was the same thing with everything in 80s pop culture. There is not a sense of polish to what is done in the 80s compared to like other decades. And this isn't like an ageism thing. I love 50s, 60s, 70s pop culture. Just the 80s for me is this gap that like I just don't get. It is in over my head. I don't understand it. I'm sorry. I'm sincerely sorry.
I realize this is live and we can't take back what you said, but
I don't want to.
For what stays on the internet, can we edit that? Because
no.
You just really there's lots of people out there that are just shaking. They're probably feeling sorry for you right now. They're like, Jeff is just missing it.
You think that's what it took for them to feel sorry for? You think
all these shows are like, here's what I would mark every day. And now
they're like, oh my God, he's doing the show out of his car. You think that's what it took? You think that's what it took for them to feel sorry for me? All right, thank you guys.
What's funny too is like you like I was like, where are you? You're like, I'm in a car. I was like, can we do this? You're like, oh yeah, and you like scan with your phone real quick. You're like, yeah, I'm hooked up, I'm plugged in. I was like, is your computer? No, I'm plugged in here, I'm plugged in, everything's good. And I was like, oh, okay. So you are the wizard behind the curtain. There's no doubt about it.
No, we pulled it off today. I'm happy we did too.
No, you pulled it off. I just sit here in my chair and talk.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to Weiss Markets for being our title sponsor. Be sure to go there for all your grocery needs. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news. We will be back tomorrow, I believe, Quizzo with John Mackey tomorrow.
Yeah, we have to talk, but we're supposed to do Quizzo with Mackey. Don't you have a problem tomorrow? I
do. I'm running a big prospect camp down at Mart's Hall tomorrow, so we'll have to figure that out. We'll have to either pre-record or we'll have to have a substitute.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. But no, this is just another example when I was like, Jeff is a lot smarter than he looks. That's how I preface when we talk about doing the show. I was like, Jeff is a lot smarter than he looks. And so this is another example, broadcasting live from the car.
When did you tell people that?
I tell people that all the time. Hey, it's Jeff. And I'm like, yeah, because what still comes up is like when I tell people the basketball coach at Lowe's, they're like, oh, that's him. I was like, yeah, that's him. So then I'm like, yeah, he's a lot smarter than he looks, and that's how I preface it.
So wait, you're implying that all I know is how to coach, or you're implying that they don't think I'm capable of doing it?
No, you don't come across as a computer nerd. Your persona, when people think of a computer nerd, they don't think of you.
Yes, and they shouldn't. Because I am not quite smart enough. Like I'm self-trained and I get by, but I am in no way a professional. Like I could never go work. Like I could never go do this for a corporation because they would have like terminology and language and like, I would just be like looking at them like, this is the plugin and this is the, this is the screen.
I will say that's fair. There's the Geek Squad guys, and then there's the rest of society. But you are a hell of a lot closer to the Geek Squad. You could be a Geek Squad guy in like a week of training, and the rest of us are so far away.
My biggest disadvantage is like I would struggle to communicate the terminology to the people who actually know what they're doing. See, to you, it's like great because I'm just using like fake terms and I'm like, you're like, oh, that makes sense. But like to the people who actually know what they're doing, if I was trying to speak to them, they would think that I'm an idiot. Like,
you're the musician who can't read music.
I am the musician who can't read music, pretty much. Yes.
They said that I heard that about Axl Rose. He taught himself how to play the piano so he can play his stuff, but he can't read anything. But he's still a good piano player. Like that's.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
I appreciate the kind words. We'll have to figure it out. Quiz it with Mackey tomorrow. We'll get it solved. We'll get it fixed, and we're looking forward to it.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina, and thanks for watching the Midday Show.
Have a good one.